custom middleware extensions. So till yesterday, you saw middleware has been created by us. Am I right or wrong? And you are using that middleware. So how you will do? You will create a class and you will inherit by middleware extension interface. And you will implement the task. Am I right or wrong? So that's how you done the custom middleware, which internally talks to HTTP context as well as request delegate as a request parameter. And you will call the delegate by registering as a service. You are registering as a service in the builder.service.add transient. You are registered, right? And then you will call that particular middleware in the app.so-and-so custom my custom middleware class. Now, you are not going to create your own class. Okay, .NET Core internally give you a class called, step 1, we can use a middleware class. Middleware class from the C# template. You will use a middleware class from the C# template. How to do that, sir? Go to Visual Studio. Go to File, open Project, under which go to E drive, under version 80, .NET 2, ASP.NET Core. Now here you go and use this one, simple core middle application. So how many middlewares yesterday we created? We created 2 middleware, my custom middleware, my first middleware. So we are registered those custom middleware and those things. Now what I'm planning to do, I'm going to my solution explorer, right click, add new item. I'm going to add new item in which you will see a class called middleware. Will you able to see a class called middleware? Middleware class. Okay. You can say my custom middleware extension. I'm going to create a class called my custom middleware extension and then click on add. What will happen? Whatever the code I written in this middleware, first middleware and custom middleware, the same code will be available here. What is happening? You see here, my custom middleware has a read-only property of request delegate. My custom middleware has a read-only property of, 1 second. Shiva. Good morning, Chepu. ఎన్ని గంటలకి నువ్వు ఉన్నావా మరి యాడ్ ఉంది వెళ్తే ఆడ సరే నేను ఒక అరగంటలో పిలుస్తా పిరపండిలో క్లాస్లో ఎంత అంట మన వల్ల కాదు, నేను చెప్తా, నేను పిలుస్తాను. See, my custom middleware extensions. I got my point. So better to go and change this extension because I don't want this extension should be added. So simply say delete, enter. Because extension is added already. My custom middleware extension. Okay, I will do one thing. I'll go. I'll delete this. I'll create a one more middleware class saying that right click, add new item, select a middleware. Where is your middleware? This is your middleware. Simply say new custom middleware. Don't give anything. Simply use new custom middleware, enter. Right? So what happened? It will create a new custom middleware under which it is accepting the object. And then in the invoke method, you will write all your before context logic. Okay, here you can write after context logic. You are right after context logic. HTTP context logic. Okay. And then you will call this extension method. Why this required of extension method? In the builder method, you will register your middleware, right? Yesterday, you registered a middleware, right? In the builder.service. You see here in the program.cs file, I registered my custom middleware. I had registered my custom middleware as a service.add transient. The same thing will happen here. Same thing will happen here. Now you see here the request object, iApplication builder, builder context. I got my point. iApplication builder, builder object. This builder object will call the use middleware in which I have a new custom middleware class. I got my point. Where this class is coming from? This class is this. Got my point. Did I created any template? Did I created any class on my board? Microsoft.NET Core already given that feature to extend that particular middleware. I got my point. I'm not creating a middleware. It is already giving that middleware. Just what I need to do, I will write here HTTP context dot response dot write async. You simply say my custom middleware end. I got my point. But it has an exception. Why? Because you have to use async. And you have to use here await. and then you need to bring this return out. Then your await will work. There you have to say return task dot complete. Return task dot complete. There you have to complete. Or you got my point? If you want, you can write the logic here, or mostly you have to write the logic as a return. No need to do any change. You call this and remove this. Simply put a logic here. Simply put a logic here. HTTP context dot response dot write async of my custom middleware class executed dot slash n. Right? You got the point? Right? Now, I want to add this in my program.cs file. Then only this custom middleware will get executed, right? In the program.cs file, before and after this to middleware, I'm calling app.use my new custom middleware is added. Did I register anywhere? Did I register anywhere? No. It automatically registered in the builder method. It automatically registered in the builder method as a service, and that will be available here. That will be available here. I got my point. So you are creating your own custom middleware, or it is automatically creating a custom middleware? It is automatically creating a custom middleware extension. Right click, go to implementation. It is calling this use middleware application build. Once you register that in the builder, what will happen? It immediately call this invoke method. Right? So always a best practice you have to use async method. Always a best practice you have to use wait method. This is something we need to change. Okay. Now you see here, when you run, you have a builder method. You have a builder method. Now in the builder method, it automatically registered a service. You see here, the new custom service has been added here. Services, service collection, expanding the enumerable results. You see, my custom middleware, my custom. Only two things. On top of that, it will add the another builder method. Probably you see here. When you call F11, got it? Now the builder is adding. Now if you go and see here, builder under service, in the inner collection, in the result view, you see that builder is added. You need to understand how the flow of builder is being added. Somewhere it has to add it. I don't know. It will be there inside. Okay. It will be add in the inside, but it is not showing. Now, if you run async context, the context dot method is in invoking. You see my custom middleware is also added. First middleware, my custom middleware class was executed. Second middleware component started. Third middleware, second middleware, everything will be added. Right? You are not clear, right? Let me do one thing. Instead of breakpoint, I will use /n here. Okay. And in my custom middleware, go to implementation. Here also BR tag, I can use /n. Here also I can use /n. All right. And my first middleware, here also I can use /n. Here also I can use /n. Right? Save all and then try to run. See, my first middleware component started. My custom middleware class was executed. Second middleware component started. Third middleware component. Second middleware component end. First middleware component end. Or you got my point? You see the following of sequence. How you determine the sequence is correct or not. Now, if you go here in the program.cs file, what is the first component you are calling? Your first component is my first middleware. The first call as per part of middleware is my first middleware. Now you see the response. My first middleware is component started, and then my custom middleware. You see that my custom middleware class was executed, and then what is your second thing? My second middleware component. You see, go to definition. My second middleware component. Or you got my point? So now my second middleware component started, and immediately it is calling the next context. Go to definition, go to program. What is my second next component? My third middleware component. My third middleware component is completed. Or you got my point? After completing this run method, it will give that component back to my custom middleware. Okay, now go back to the definition. After next, this line of code will be executed. Right? And then Again, it will come to my where? The new custom middleware. The sequence will go from second middleware to my new custom middleware class. This class will be executed. This next will be executed. Then again, it will come to my first middleware. And then finally, it will complete the process and render the HTML output. Clear my point? Everybody clear online? Online?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is how the middleware component will work. So how you can build n number of new middleware classes? Let me try one more program where you will understand very clearly. Simply, I will close this project. I'll create a new project as Visual Studio. Go to Visual Studio 2.0, 2022. I can create a project name ASP.NET MVC core with the custom middleware example. New project in which I'm selecting ASP.NET core template. Next, sample custom middleware example. Right? I create a project name called sample middleware custom example. And then I'm going for E drive, Narendra, but not E drive, VIT, .NET 2, ASP.NET core, select the folder. Next, I am removing the configure HTTPS create. What happened? An empty template of ASP.NET core will be created. Empty template of ASP.NET core will be created. Go to Solution Explorer, right click, add, new folder, say middleware component. My folder name is middleware component. I'm going to give my middleware component based on the real time. I will say right click, add, new item. I select my middleware saying that authentication. What is my middleware name? Where is my middleware? Where it is coming? Right click, add, new item. Middleware రావాలి కదా. Oh, I had selected the target format is 6. Yeah, you see there is a middleware class. Okay, in the middleware class, I can say my authentication for understanding purpose, my authentication middleware. Right? And I'm going to create another middleware. I'm going to create another middleware, my authorization. My authorization. So how many middlewares I created in this project? 2 middleware. One middleware will be authentication, another middleware will be authorization. Now I'm going to write a code here saying that HTTP context dot response dot write async authentication executed. This is my first point, right? Now, sorry, this is authorization. Authorization executed. Now, save all. In my authentication, you simply say HTTP context dot response dot write async authorization executed. Authentication executed, authorization executed. Save all. Now, how many middlewares I have in my project? 2 middleware. One middleware will be authentication, another middleware will be authorization. How to call that in your program.cs file? You need to bind that in your program.cs file, right? So I have a builder method. After build, I have to map the authentication and authorization. So what I will do, app dot use authentication. You got my point? And then app dot use authorization. I created all 2 my methods. Those 2 are my middlewares. See, yesterday we created middleware line by line and explain. Now, if you see the code, is it a good code to understand? Is it a good code to understand? I can get my request header. Now I'm going to create a one more saying that right click. No, that's enough. Now run the project. These are called as middleware extensions. These are called as middleware extensions. If somebody comes and asks you to create a separate middleware extension so that I want to write a building logic, or you got my point? You have to use these middleware extensions, you can build the logic. F11. It's already added. It's there. Use my authentication. Here, use my authorization. Correct. It's correct only. No, it's supposed to write use my. There you go. Use my authentication. Here you have to use my app dot use my, right. The name got mismatched. If you use right click, go to definition, it is calling this. If you go to program.cs, right click, go to definition, it is calling the authentication. Got my point? Save all, run. Now see. Okay. So I have to write my own custom app. App dot run method, because you have a run method, right? So we are not provided that. That's why the problem is context. What context you will provide? HTTP context. Context. Right? Here, what you have to do? You have to use async method. Async. And then you will write here context dot response dot write async execution ended slash n. Now it required await. Whenever you have an async, you have to use await. And then see, all these are map use methods. But finally, it has to run with this particular middleware. That is why it is expecting middleware. See, the problem what you are arised is this next is not able to get the run method. Now, if you run it, authentication, authorization, executed, enter. Now, see, everything is done. Authorization executed, authentication executed, everything is done. Clear my point? Online, guys? Online. Chaitanya, Preeti?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sure.
So these are called as custom extensions. Now, coming back, this class template will provide entire structure of middleware. Entire structure of the middleware. What are all the structure we will have? Example, my authentication as my is a class along with my authentication extension will be created. Extension, my authentication extensions will be created on its own. Right? Did I created this class? Did I created these two classes? Who created? My template is created. Am I right or wrong? One is my authorization, another one is my extension. Did I create it? No. Or you got my point? And this class is static. So that without creating an object, I can call this class. Now go back to the program.cs. This class will be used as a name called use my authentication. So the middleware extension automatically register the service into app object. Am I right or wrong? iWeb application app object, the automatically the service will be get registered. Okay, middleware extension will automatically get registered in app dot service, sorry, builder dot builder dot service on its own while invoking app dot what? Use my authentication method. Invoking use authentication method. Does it make sense? My extension class automatically registered and it automatically get invoked and it will be get executed. I'm not doing anything. Earlier, what you will do? You will create a class using an interface of middleware. You will implement the task object, take the class, go back to program.cs file in the builder.service.add transient where you will register that method as a injection object. Dependency injection you will add, right? I will tell you what is a dependency injection by later point of time. And then you will run. While running, it will call the executions, right? Now it will happen everything on its own. So it is best for me to do a development or it is tough for me to do a development. It's a best for me to do a development, right? So that is the reason people are going for my custom extension middleware, right? Now, and there is one more. There is a sequence. The second topic today is sequence of middleware component. Middleware call suggested by ASP.NET Core. The first sequence is, this is most important you need to understand because this is the framework people are giving. The first sequence is you have to use, let me go back to my code. I remove everything. The first sequence I have to use is app dot use exception. Always you have to use this as your first sequence. I will tell you how to build this exception handler, how to pass it to the user, everything I will build you. The second one is app dot use HSTS. This is another method which is inbuilt in .NET framework. And then app dot use HTTP redirection. Or you got my point? And then app dot use routing. This is the flow they have to build. Microsoft itself giving me a suggestion. Always your use exception handler is your first middleware to call. As part of building your program, you need to call exception handler. I will teach you how to get that exception handler, how to log, everything I will teach you. Don't worry about it. As of now, to understand what are all the predefined exception middleware which are available in our ASP.NET Core. After routing, you have to use app dot use endpoints. See, it is already suggesting. App dot use authentication. And then app dot use authorization. App dot use endpoints. I have to create a endpoints. Or you got my point? This endpoint I can teach you by tomorrow, later point of time. And routing I configured. So these are all the things you have to configure on its own. Hello? Hello? Right? Use endpoints. Like that, you need to add everything as a structure. Like that, you need to add everything as a structure. Okay. So this is one thing you need to understand. I'm copying this, paste it, the sequence of middleware suggested by Core. And then the next topic, we can create a custom middleware to call. After completing all these things, you need to call the custom middleware class. You should not call custom middleware before this. Always your custom middleware will create after all these things will be executed. Otherwise, you will have a lot of problem. Hello? Hello? Evaru? Yeah, Narendra? I'm busy, ma'am. Can you call me later? Right? We can create a custom middleware on its own. And then you complete the builder method. That is one thing. And the last topic we have is use when, which I can teach tomorrow because I think you are going out or running out of time. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions?
No,
Online
sir.
guys?
No, sir, I'm good.
Chaitanya?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Suresh?
No, sir.
Okay. See, you go through the video on a daily basis, you will understand the logic